So this is about take 15 of this video if my computer doesn't crash again, but working on assignment 4, and we're trying to answer this question about inventory plots. And what I'm looking for here is you to determine whether this would be a join or relate between a spatial data set that we have here in inventory plots. So in your folder, once you download this, just put it on your desktop and it should show up something like this, where it's a zipped or compressed folder. So if you right click on that and point to extract all, then you'll end up with a folder that looks something like that. And we can launch Arc Pro. And within Arc Pro, once you've created that folder link, best thing to do here is, just start with a new map project. I titled mine assignment 4, and it'll bring you into the virtual page. You will be missing these layers, and I'll show you how to add those. Those are going to come from our assignment 4 folder that we downloaded. So we want to click on this add data button, and that should be able to link you to catalog. And so catalog, mine is over here, tabbed on the side of my page. Yours might be down here in the bottom, but it's super convenient to make a data connection, to your desktop. So that's where I've created this folder connection, and I'm going to navigate to assignment 4. And in the assignment 4, you have this geodatabase, and then a feature class called inventory plots. That's what's over here. So I just left click and drug that into my virtual page. We also have an ortho image. So that's what you see here in the background. And I've turned these two default images off so that, we don't redraw the world every time we move around. And then you have a database file. There's 5 of them here that I've given you. The one that you really want is this inventory plot data Excel file, and it's stored underneath this arrow. And I'm going to click on this, and it'll probably crash the computer, but it'll take several minutes for it to process. Shouldn't be this long, but hopefully your computer is faster than my computer. My computer is apparently on its last leg. So within that, though, you'll have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, which these are the worksheets that are within that Excel file. You want to be able to drag that individual sheet over. If I use these CSV files or this text file down here on the bottom, we're going to end up with an issue when it comes to the relate. And we want to try to alleviate that. So I would use one of these 2 files at the top, drag just the sheet file over. The issue that you end up with is when you relate it and you go to point to related tables, it's only going to show and yours should load. Mine did not load, but yours should load that sheet, the sheet 1. But if you use one of these files, it's only going to load the it just will not execute the method that we want to do with the relate. So I'll show you what that would look like, and we'll just work through it. So at this point, what I want to do is take we'll just open these 2 things here. So we're going to open the attribute table, and we're going to look at this data for our points that have spatial location. So these would be our individual points here, and there's 84 of them as indicated by our number of records, and they're all points, and it looks like there were 84 individual plots. So each value is unique. If we do a join and a relate, we generally don't want to do it by object ID, because this is a auto-assigned number that whoever digitized or drew these points, these are the order that those were drawn essentially. So sometimes your plot number doesn't coincide with that number. In this situation, it does. The other thing we want to do is, so we have 84 plots essentially. We want to look at our non-spatial database. So we're just going to right click and notice that it doesn't say open attribute table. It just says open. So we're going to click open. What I do like is that it just opens here adjacent to it. So we can kind of toggle between those two files, which is super convenient. If we look at this non-spatial database, we see multiple ones when it comes to plot one. There's no object ID, obviously, because there's no shape to it. And we have 331 records, which is substantially more than our 84 plots. So what this was is these are individual trees. So these are Douglas fir trees that were, so, plot one had 6 trees on it. So that's pretty common. What we want to do, though, is we want to actually get the data where there's, trees that were observed that are damaged. And if we joined this table, so this table, we join it to this table, what the software is going to do is actually get rid of these 5 records here, which if this tree was damaged, had a damage code on it, we would lose that record. So the relate is the best relationship for us to use in this regard. Or in this situation. Although the join would work, because if we scroll through here, you're going to note that the first tree on each plot was the one that had damage on it, ironically. So that would probably never work in any other situation. Now, here's a trick is if you've opened these before you've done a join or relate, the table is not going to show up as it's relatable. So just close these two things and then go back to your inventory plots, right click on it, joins and relates, and we're going to add a relate. So basically we're going to relate this table back to this table. And we're going to use plot number as our relatable field. So field would be plot number in our inventory plots. In our sheet 1 database file, we're going to use plot number. We're going to title this something different. You can leave the default as relate. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to call it damage just to show it there. And then I'm going to do a one to many so that I'm going to retain all 331 of those records. Should take a second or two to happen, and nothing really occurs. Like you don't see anything happen. Now, if we go back and open our inventory plots attribute table, you're going to see that it looks exactly the same. And if we open our database file, you're going to see that it looks exactly the same. Whereas if we did a join, which I would implore you to do the join just so you can see what happens, and you did that in lesson 3, it would just append the table with the first 84 records of each plot number. So we'd get this record, we'd get this record, so on. So since we joined them, related them, we basically kept those two tables separate. So what we're going to do at this point now is I'm going to sort this by descending based upon damage type so that I can see the plots that had damage. And there were 24 seedlings out of the 331 that had some sort of animal damage. And the damage was either caused by a deer or a mountain beaver. And so we're going to select those 24. So we're going to left click on the one here, and I'm going to scroll down to 24, and I'm going to hold the shift key down on my keyboard and hit left click on my mouse so that I select the 24 records that have damage of some sort. And now you're gonna switch over here to show just the selected records. So rather than show all records, we're just going to show the selected 24 records. And if I scroll here, you see that we've gotten rid of the 331 that had no damage. So those plots there were no seedlings damaged on the remaining plots. And we could actually, physically figure out which plots had damage, so plot 1 had a tree that was damaged, plot 45 had 2, plot 5 had 2. So you kind of get the gist of it. But one of the questions I might ask is how many seedlings were damaged? 24 is the answer. Once you've selected just the selected records, you can go over here to the right, which is the table options. And here you should see related tables. And if you had left these tables open and then and then performed the relate, this inventory plots right here, it would be linked here, but this would not be bold. It would look like this up here. It would be grayed out, indicating that it's not available. If you use the CSV file, the exact same situation is going to happen. This is going to be grayed out. So what I would do is just close this table, close this attribute table, maybe remove all of your relates, and then do it again without these tables being open. So it's just a way to work through it. So when I select this related data and I click on the inventory plots, what's going to happen now is you're going to see plots up here are going to be highlighted that meet that criteria, that had damage on them. So it's going to relate back to this inventory plots. And you'll see that there are those plots that are highlighted. And so if we go back to our inventory plots, it's going to highlight those selected records. So there's 18 plots that are affected, with 24 seedlings being the ones that were impacted. So what I'm going to do now is, since I have those records selected, I'm going to right click on my inventory plots, point down to selection, and I'm going to make a layer from selected features. And so that inventory plot selection now is going to show, once I turn this off, it's going to show just the plots now. These are the plots that had damage. And so you can change the symbology. I would clear your selection at this point, and you could change the individual symbol. You can retitle this. I'm going to close these just so we can see a little bit better. So these would be plots rather than inventory plot selection. We might call these, plots. I don't know what's happening here. We'll just add something on here. So we'll see if we can't rename this without it crashing. But we would want to name this, plots that had animal damage of some sort. And then these would be plots that had no damage. You could also, there's other ways that you could symbolize it. So once you've got that process done, the next thing you're going to do is go up to your insert menu, and you're just going to insert a new layout, and you're going to make a map with the parameters that I'm looking for there. So I think I was looking for an 8.5 by 11, and that should jump in over here with the layout. And we're just going to put in, our map frame. So grab your map frame and then just draw that in. You're going to put in your guides, and you're going to insert, all of the map components that we need: a north arrow, a legend, a scale bar, your name, data that belongs to it, and so forth. One thing that I wanted to show you here that is a little bit annoying on this is that this data frame has this background to it, and you might want to get rid of that data frame background. So if we right click on this and we go into the properties of the data frame now, so the map frame, one of the things that we can do in here is you can look at the map frame, and it should be over here on once this pops up here, we should be able to scroll over. Don't know if it actually popped up there. Let's go. Yeah, we want the border. There we go. And then this is where we will have to scroll over here, and we want to just make this no color. So we'll make that no color once that pops up. There we go. No color. Apply. And then it'll get rid of this kind of goofy border that's around our ortho image once that is fully applied. So hopefully that helps. You can build those individual elements in there, get your map created, make the scale, change your scale, make sure that this ratio scale is always an even number, and again, always hit me up if you have any questions.